Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, EmpressTee, HigherFrequency. Yeah.
Yes. Today I wanted to talk about the universal laws and empowering ourselves. This today's talk is more for the people that have been listening to me and saying to themselves, I hear you, Empress, but it doesn't really work for me. I tried it, but it doesn't really work for me. I did it for 10 minutes and it didn't work, or I did it for 2 days and I didn't get any results. So, it doesn't really work. It's not working. That's part of it. If you understand the universal laws, and basically what universal laws are laws, meaning that these are principles that apply in life, whether you believe them or not. It's just like the law of gravity. Whether you believe it or not, gravity is what's keeping us on the earth. That keeps us from floating up in the sky. Because if it wasn't for the laws of gravity, we'd be floating off somewhere. Right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yes. And then we have, the other laws, what goes up must come down. The same laws of gravity, those are the same little sayings that we have. So we have universal laws that are also fixed and applied to life in the same way. And if you accept the laws, then you can empower yourself, and there's where you have a better life. There's where, I can laugh and say, about the people getting arrested. That's not going to happen everywhere, but I understand the other side of it.
Yeah.
That's one of the universal laws, the duality, the law of polarity, that there's two sides to everything. There's two sides to every coin. So you can't really accept one and not accept the other. We have to, somewhat find the middle ground. But I wanted to just highlight these 7 main universal laws and just talk a little bit about where they come from. I'm sure that everybody by now knows that mostly anything that has to do with spiritual elevation emanates from a time either of ancient Egypt or before that time. So that these concepts are not new. The universal laws, as it's put into that modern term, became modernized, I guess, with the Kabbalion in 1909 or so, when the 3 initiates, that's who they claim wrote the Kabbalion, which are basically the universal laws. But it's really the 7 principles of Tahuti. It comes from Egypt more than from Greek, from the Greek philosophy. But I'm just explaining that to explain more that it's ancient. And so that these are not new principles, and they've been around because they are true and they work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we're only going to focus on 7. They say that there are many, many universal laws, but there are definitely 7 main universal laws. And from those, people have developed new ones. And so you have some that say, well, there's 12 universal laws or 20 or 21. But those are more fragments and originated from these basic laws. So I'm going to run them through first. I'm going to say the law names, and then I'll just go back through and give examples of them and, explain them a little bit. And again, these are to empower ourselves. If you can get and understand these 7 basic principles or 7 universal laws that we're going to discuss today, you're on your way to living that life to, like Creflo Dollars, for him to get that, the helicopter airplane, what did you say he was getting?
Yes, for $65 million, yeah.
He has definitely mastered and employed the universal laws.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in his case, there is a bad side to it, and we'll get into it a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But for right now, he is mastering the laws of attraction.
All right, before you go on to that, the chart I'm showing now, I'm not sure if you're seeing on the screen. I know the individuals on the radio are not seeing anything. but I'm showing one of the headlines, 7 universal cosmic laws, 1 through 7. Is that the one?
Yes.
Okay. One quick question. Are these 7 in any specific order? I know they're...
Now, on here, the order is not really how
Of
I've
importance.
seen it, but
Okay.
I don't know so much that the order makes a difference
Okay.
so much as we understand that out of the 7, 3 of them are immutable. And what that means
Are what?
are immutable. Immutable.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And what that means is that those cannot be changed. No matter what, no matter what's going on, no matter which generation is alive, no matter what we apply it to, whether it's mental, physical, or spiritual, those 3 are never going to change.
They're stuck. Yeah.
And so I'm going to give you those first 3, and those are the law of mentalism, the law of correspondence, and the law of vibration. Those are supposed to be the first 3 because those are not changeable. Those are immutable.
One thing, those aren't shown here. I see vibration.
Yes, you see, number 1, mind action. Well, mentalism. So
okay.
it's just phrased differently.
Okay, got you. Okay, go ahead.
Mind action, correspondence, and vibration.
Okay.
And then after that, we have the law of polarity. We have the law of rhythm. We have the law of cause and effect. And finally, the law of gender. Okay? So we're going to start with the law of mentalism. Now, again, the first 3 are immutable. So that means that no matter what, those are not going to change. The last 4 are the ones that we want to master and understand so that we can change our life. Those are the ones that are mutable, and those are the ones that are empowering. Those are the ones that allow us to get the things that we want in our life if we accept them and understand them. And to be honest, Lulu, even if you don't accept them and even if you don't understand them, it still applies. And there's where you have a group of people walking around through life saying, oh, my God, my life is so terrible. I just don't understand. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. But what they might not understand is that they're the one that's creating that life. So let's just start with the law of mentalism, okay?
That's the mind action.
Okay. Right. And basically what that law is stating is that everything started as a concept from the mind, that everything initiated from a non-physical point of view, from a non-physical perspective or from a non-physical state of being, that it all started in the mind, and therefore we are all linked through that mind, and therefore there is only one mindset. It is all one consciousness. And there's where you get that universal mind, you know, where people say that one consciousness, we have that one mind. It's all is one, one is all. Okay, and that's on a spiritual level. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, just go ahead. We're listening.
Okay, and then the second one, the law of correspondence, which is another immutable. And that basically states that as above, so below. So that all of the planes or all the realms, meaning the physical, mental, and spiritual, are all the same. There's nothing really different. You can't, there's no real separation. You can't really say that, oh, the spiritual realm is better or more than the physical realm, you know, because they're all connected. They're somewhat reflections of each other, and they're all related together. Okay? And then we have the third one, which is the law of vibration. And that just basically says that everything vibrates. Basically, everything is energy. And science has already proven that everything starts with an atom, and the atom basically vibrates, right?
Right.
And that's how everything is. Even physical hard substances have vibration. There are atoms moving in them. We can't see them moving, but it's those atoms that are keeping the physical elements that we see in our lives together. Whether we understand it or not, whether we believe it or not, those atoms are in there moving around vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
And the same way that it is for the physical, it's the same for our spiritual and our mental. There's energy at play. That's the frequency that I always talk about.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm. So no questions, no questions?
No. You're presenting the flow. I'm listening. I understand exactly what you're saying, so I don't really have a question.
Okay.
Lot of
Those
it.
Three, again, remember, whether a person understands what we just said or even knows about it,
mm-hmm.
those are going to be in effect and in play.
Yeah. A lot of what you talk about, as a person who took physics and was heavily into physics, I understand some of what you're saying. So I have a question. If anyone has any question in the chat room, they want to text me something that they don't know about, or they want to call in for further clarification, please go ahead and do so. You can call in at 770-744-2154.
Okay. So now in physics, as you said, that's the physical aspects of it, the physical explanation, the physical rationalization for things. And that's how we explain the first three, okay? So now, when we get into the next four, it joins more the mental and spiritual aspects of the law. So now you said you understand it from a physician, as a physics person.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to get into it more from a mental and spiritual. So the next one we have is the law of polarity. And that basically is, that everything has an opposite, a yin, yang, a positive, negative, a black, a white.
Mm-hmm.
That, everything has that. And that the opposites are somewhat identical in nature, but they're different. So that when you have good and you have bad, they're almost the same. Just like I was saying with the decision for the people at the graduation.
Right.
There's a good point to it and a bad aspect. It depends on which side you're sitting on, because for the people that got disrupted, they're like, yes, arrest them, because they interrupted the whole graduation. We didn't get to hear, or, you know what I'm saying? There's going to be people.
Uh-huh.
But we need the two sides to have the whole. So it's just like a coin. You still have the head, the tail, but the two sides together give you that whole coin. So when you understand that principle more than anything, that's the one that's going to empower you the most in changing your life and changing your fortune and changing your career and changing your relationships and changing anything, your health, your body, anything. When you understand this principle here, the law of polarity, that everything has an opposite, then you can change anything in a moment's instant.
Mm-hmm. No,
because, mm-hmm.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, ask me.
No, I was gonna first let me say welcome to WMS classmate. Somebody there bigging you up, must be someone from your school days. Let me ask you then, the average person, when they hear, if the average person were to come in and listening to this, they may not get a grasp immediately. Now, on a day-to-day challenge, for example, the person that got up and cheered his loved one during that graduation, if they were to get a defense, if they were to go to court and get a defense and present these laws, could it work in their favor?
Of course. They're already in their favor. Who knows what they did previous to that graduation? Maybe they are habitual disruptive people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's the energy that they have coming back. I mean, we don't know the whole story. And that's one of the laws too, that there is a bigger picture. It's not just what we see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that we can't just always take stuff at face value and say, okay, this happened and it's so terrible, it's so crazy. We have to take it in, in perspective, keep it in perspective, and it has to be in relation to what else is going on. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you? So yeah, I mean, they could go in there and and have it work in their favor, or they could even apply these before they even get to court, and they might not even want to go to court because they will understand their hand in it and the part that they played in it, and maybe they submit and never do it again, and from it other people can learn. So let me go through go through the rest of them so that I can explain it better.
Right.
But that's a perfect example of how you can use and work the universal laws. Okay. Now we have also the law of rhythm. So that's basically, if you could vision like a pendulum, like on the bottom of a clock. If you don't know what a pendulum is, it swings back and forth. It goes up and down, or like a swing, so it goes back and forth.
Ebbs and flows.
Exactly. That's one of my examples too. So that when you understand that, and for people that don't understand the ebb and flow, think of waves when they go out and come in, and even different times of day. Sometimes it's out further and it comes in not so much. And then it goes out a little further and then not so much, but it's still moving. Am I right? It's still ebbing and flowing. It's still ebbing and flowing. So when you understand that all of life moves in that same rhythm, then you can also understand how you can master and change things and occurrences in your life. Because just like the waves, just like the ocean ebbs and flows and comes in a little more, then it goes out a little more and comes in, it's always cyclical. It comes back. No matter what, it's always going to come back. It might not be as much, it might not be as little, but it's always going to come back and forth. So what you got to learn to do is navigate and believe and remember that it's constantly moving. Just like seasons. The seasons cycle every year. Are they exact as the year before? No. But for sure we're going to have spring, winter, summer, fall. Now, how it's going to be, that's something different. But we know for sure we're going to have spring, summer, winter, fall. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that when you understand that life has those same patterns, that everything basically has those same patterns. The same with our bodies. I talk about our body's development and our stages of development and cycles, that we don't allow our bodies to cycle properly. Yeah. It's just like a woman is not going to get pregnant and deliver that baby in 9 weeks. It's not going to happen. I mean, it could happen, but is the baby going to be fully developed? Did the baby get to go through the cycles? No, it didn't. However, we know if the woman is able to stay and remain pregnant for 9 months, then we know that inside of her stomach, that baby is going through different stages of development, preparing to come out. So just like that, everything in life is just like that. So when you have a thought, when you have an event, when you have a situation, anything that happens, it had an inception, it had a gestation period, and then it had that final manifestation period where you get to see the results of what was either planted or put in or thought or initiated. Okay, so that's the law of rhythm, that everything goes up and goes back. And again, if you can master that and understand that, when you're doing really, really well, understand and know that that's a momentary thing. And that you are going to go back. Now, how far back down you go depends on how high up you went and what you do on your way descending down. Because there are ways that you can prevent and slow that descent so that it's not a drastic negative descent, but rather more ebb and flow that's more natural, and you ebb and flow with it so that you prepare yourself for the ebb and the flow.
Yeah. And clearly with the Earth's magnetic pull and thrust on the bodies here, you tend to get those continuous movement. Because like you said, things are as energy, internal energy, and it's a matter of, one of the laws says for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah, and that right there is that's it. That's it. And then now we also have the law of cause and effect. And And that's what you're saying about
Yeah.
that. And now with the law of cause and effect is what you reap is what you sow.
Right.
And so that ideas are spiritual seeds. And if you can see it like that, because see, some people only think and deal in the physical realm. They only know how. That's what we learn. So much of the spiritual, and that's why I do the higher frequencies to remind us that we need to unify all three. We can't just focus in on any one component. The three have to work together. Otherwise, you have disruptive lives. You have negative lives, negative people, negative events when it's out of balance. Now, fortunately for us, we're on the upswing. We're coming back up. And there's where you have people looking to eat healthy, looking to think better, to do better. So we're on the way back up.
Now, let me ask you this. With what you're explaining, these principles, when you hear someone talk about karma, is this the way how you'd explain when somebody
That's
says karma?
exactly it. That has to do with the vibration, with our vibration, what you vibrate out. We vibrate energy all the time with your thoughts, with your words, and with your actions. We vibrate energy. So that they say karma is another way to say karma is what goes around comes around. People always say that. That's because everything is cyclical. So that you have to be mindful of what you're putting forth. And sometimes people say, oh, my goodness, I don't get it. I'm so nice. I'm so nice. That was what? Last week. But were you nice last month?
Right.
Were you nice 2 years ago? It might even be 3 years ago. Who knows? I don't know what you did. You understand what I'm saying?
Eventually catches up to you. Exactly.
Exactly. And it has to. And if you understand and accept the universal laws and how things work, then you know it's going to catch up, and it's only a matter of time. And there's why I say if you can understand and master these principles, then you can catch it and try and navigate and change the things that you can change. There's where you have the four mutable ones that allow you the opportunity to change things midstream. Let me do the last one, and then we can go into it a little bit more. The last one is the law of gender, and that basically says that everything has a male and a female. Everything physical, everything mental, and everything spiritual has a male or physical aspect.
Let me ask you this. I'm looking at the chart again. Which one of these would correspond to law of gender? I don't see that on here.
Harmony and balance.
Harmony and balance. Oh, okay. All right.
Harmony and balance.
Okay.
Because the feminine aspects are more of a receiving nature, more of a germinating nature, nurturing. And the masculine aspects are more of a giving, or more of expressive, more willful. And so when those two are harmonized, there's where you have productive action, because it's without the feminine, the masculine will be too chaotic. It'll be, action without restraint. There'll be no type of guidance, no type of order. And the female without the masculine will be too reflective, too stagnant. We're too, sometimes we're too complacent. But that's not to say physically male or female. It could be a mental thing or a spiritual thing. It doesn't always have to be, a man that is masculine or a woman that's feminine. It could just mean the thought or the idea that they want to give, or whatever it is they're working on, just to understand that everything has to have a male or female aspect to it. And only when you harmonize and balance the two can you, move forward and have it be fruitful. In fact, go ahead.
No, I was just about to take a station ID break. It's 11 o'clock, folks, and we're speaking to EmpressTee.
You are listening to RBN, Rule Grounds Network.
Yes, indeed. Remember, it's a Friday at 10:30. It's higher frequency, and she's going through the 7 universal cosmic laws The ones that we have here is one, mind action, cause and effect, correspondence, attraction, harmony and balance, the one she just touched on, male, female, vibration and polarity. She's going through the various explanations. If you'd like to call in, the number is 770-744-2154 for further explanation of any of the points she's making, or if you have another question or a disagreement, the number is 770-744-2154. Empress.
Now, there's some other laws as well that, that like when I said that some people say, well, there's 12 or there's 20, but they're more or less, they branch off of these main 7 ones. And, some people may have heard of them. That's the law of relativity. And there's where I say where, when something is going on, stop and check for a moment and see, well, is it really that bad? What do I have to compare it to? Has this happened to me before? Has this happened to anyone? Because I'm sure that no matter what you are going through, it's not as bad as someone else. Somebody else will have it worse. There's always going to be someone worse. So that you're able to put things in perspective and get through what you have to go through. Life is about tests and trials and tribulations. That's what it's about, to strengthen our character, to strengthen our souls, to strengthen our bodies. That's what it's about. That's what we're here for. We're not here to be rich. We're not here to get helicopters and planes, and we're not here for that. And so while Creflo Dollars has, mastered the laws of attraction for the moment, as we all have seen time and time again, there's a backswing, and it's coming. He got $65 million airplane backswing coming. Mm-hmm. Trust and believe, it's coming. What happened? What were the people named? Tammy Flo? What was Tammy? Remember Tammy? With the tears, the other religious people.
Oh yeah.
Remember, they were so high up, they were almost in heaven, right?
Tammy Faye Baker or something like that.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Remember them?
Disgrace, man. All of them people, man, this is just my take. I think most of them people, them probably start off initially to do good, but once them get in and they see all these opportunities to swingle and to take money from the people, and the people not pushing back, they just continue to build and build until it gets overwhelmed.
Yeah, what happens is they forget the laws that brought them up to where they are. Mm-hmm. They forget. Mm-hmm. And people do forget. And just like you said, it keeps going, and they're riding that momentum. But what they're forgetting is that they stop becoming active to becoming passengers, to becoming riders. So now they're no longer emitting out the right energy. Their intent is off.
Like you
There's
said,
no more intent. And that's why when they come back, there's no cushion because the intent is gone.
Like you've always said, they're not grounded.
Yes.
They're not grounded,
Exactly. And that's the key. Once you can keep your feet on the ground, and once you can remember and keep things in perspective, when it comes down, because things happen, but when it comes down, you got to be ready for it. Just like I can sit here and tell people this is not a financial cycle for me. Am I worried? No. Because I know what it's to be. But right now, this is a spiritual cycle for me. So I feel good. So I'm cashing in on my spiritual dollars. I'd rather have that, because when the money run out and all those things done, I'm still going to be good.
But and you've explained, and I think your explanation makes sense. But why is it then that these guys, the Creflo Dollars, the Tammy Faye Baker, there was another one. One of them had a Christian brother talk about if them not donate $5,000, whatever the amount was, gotta come take him out and all them thing there. One of them rich guys. Why is it? What is it though that these guys think that boy them can just just try to fool people?
It's the first universal law, the law of mentalism. They use the mind against the people. Uh-huh. They use that universal consciousness, and they tap into it. But again, they have to pay for that.
Right, and they should, and they must, and I agree, they should.
And they do.
But some of these people that goes into these churches, some of these people are going out of church, right?
Hmm.
Are they so blind that? Because I know this one sister before I came down here to Georgia 11 years ago. She tells me she, was active in the church, and the pastor everybody was giving him when his birthday came, them chip in and give him a $10,000 and so forth. And then one year, apparently one of the group of persons within that church said, "Look, man, we need to get the pastor a Mercedes Benz." So she started to question why they need to do that. They were giving him $5,000, $10,000, and now one of the other church members said, "We need to give him a Benz." So she started questioning it, and guess what? They started to push back on her and create a lot of problems for her. Now, it seems like within these churches, these people that are going to the church, you wonder if, like you said, their mind is gone. Rather than
It is, and it's an abuse of these laws. It really is an abuse of the laws, and because I had one of my grandmothers, Grandma McKinney. Now, this woman was a devout religious person. Okay, she was a full member of the Church of God in Christ, and it was everything Church of God in Christ, everything Church of God in Christ. And I went too because I had no choice. But I told you I was terrified because of what they were talking about.
Right.
But the flip side of her was that she had mastered the laws of attraction. Because even though she was talking about the church and giving and doing in her life on a personal level, she was blessed. This woman was happy. She was unstressed. She was prosperous. Anything that she wanted to do, she did. And, whether she did it in Jesus' name, in God's name, that is what carried her through. And so you ask, why do people go along with it? Because on some levels they do benefit. And so it kind of plays like a little trick on their mind because they're like, well, pastor did say this and, I did get that job. But what they don't understand is that what the pastor did was got them to that first step for their own mind
to
initiate and conceive of what they wanted to do. And because they were able to channel that energy and nurture it through going to church every week and hearing about their dreams and their prayers, every time they hear about it, they nurture it. So on some respects, they're getting something from it. But now what they need to remember is that what the pastor does, he's going to reap.
Yeah.
Okay, so that you don't have to really worry about that. I know it's kind of hard. It's pitiful because you say, why not take the $10,000 and have a family fund for a family that either went through a hardship, is going through a hardship, or you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Somebody in the church. That would be the real way to do it because you want to cycle it back in.
Exactly.
But they're deviating it, and they're going to pay for it. Trust me, they're going to pay for it, and we don't know when.
Yeah, but at some point they will. Something. As you talk about this, one thing jump in my mind about 39, because I've been here almost 40 years. I think it might have been 39 years ago in Guyana, the Jim Jones massacre, mass murder down there. Where you control these people, mind, you tell them all kind of rubbish. And pull them in, and then next thing he said, drink some Kool-Aid. And the people I'm drinking. Even if, and I think,
and some of them knew, and some of them knew.
I was just about to say that. Some of
them knew and wanted to do it because they're all in. And there's where you have the danger about religion, and that's why I always say on here, I don't think I've ever ascribed to any one religion because I've gone beyond the religion to understand that these things that we're talking about, the principles, Proverbs are based off of these ancient laws. You understand what I'm saying? They're nothing more than guidelines for people. It's almost like a billboard telling people, listen, these are the commandments. Forget about whatever else you heard. These are the real commandments. And they're out there for everyone to see. And who wants to pay attention, pays attention. And who doesn't, it's still going to happen. And, you know, unfortunately, those people in Jim Jones, that was a travesty. It really was. And it affected everyone else on the outside. Now, it had a negative and a positive effect because people were like, wait a minute, we need to start examining what we're hearing. We need to start listening and watching out for these cults. So in some respects, it did have a positive effect for the, you know,
Sorry.
Yeah, for the increase of, you know, negativity. So that's also one of the laws, that everything that you do has a profound effect on people around you and the environment around you. Everything.
Absolutely. Well said. All right, folks, it's 11:11 and we're speaking with the one and only. She just brings all the high frequency, you know. there's physics. There's a I forgot a formula. There's a formula just come to my head about frequency. But yes, this lady always bring the higher reasoning of what's happening and trying to explain some of the day-to-day things that happen to each of us. We have no clue what happens, and I think that's part of what she's trying to do here.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, that nothing is by chance. Nothing is clueless like that. We all have the clues. Some of us just choose, you know what I'm saying, not to really be aware. The good thing about your show and everyone that's listening here is that y'all just been put onto some really good, powerful information if you use it right.
Right.
Everybody isn't privy to this at this time. So for whatever reason, this is the cycle of when you all are supposed to get it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you all are getting it. And then I wanted to talk also about the law of action.
All right, before we touch action, let me just add, because SWA put something there as you were speaking. Also did Liebach in the chat room. SWA say I was a regular church girl, and is there a level of upliftment regardless of the foolishness that goes on.
Exactly. And there's where you have that collective energy, and sometimes it overrides and allows those pastors to, you know, to feel like they're getting away with something. But before long, they'll be out and the church keeps going. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And Liebach said that I'm a non-Catholic, and when I go to church with my wife's family, yes, I feel a spiritual upliftment.
And sometimes, you know, I have gone to church sometimes in the past. I'm not going to say I never go. I grew up in the church, but I understand the political aspect of it. So I don't ascribe to it, and I don't force it down my children's throat because I was terrified and I would never subject anyone to it. But because I'm on a different frequency, there have been times when I go to church and the pastor is talking to me. You understand what I'm saying? And so there's where you see that there is some good to it, but again, it has to be in balance. It has to be in check. It has to be, you know,
has to be grounded.
Yes, it has to be some type of following to it. You can't just do it. It can't just be chaotic. It's got to be grounded. It's got to be cool, you know? Balance. Then there's also the law of compensation. And that has more to do with the physical aspects of abundance and abundance. So like you hear where people say, oh, as you give to others, you receive. That's because you're giving. You're putting that energy out of a giving nature. So it has to come back. Somebody's going to give to you naturally. And that works with everything. So if you give somebody a hard time, guess what's coming back?
Hard time coming back to
and
you.
And it might not be from that person. It might not be that day. It might not be that week. It might not be that year. But believe, the first time that someone gives you a hard time, go in your mind and say, did I give somebody a hard time? Sometimes it's the exact same situation.
No, what if somebody's giving somebody a hard time jokingly, like I give you a hard time from time to time? You tell me, say me,
I stop it dead in your tracks, right? And there's where, if you understand the law of polarity, that's how you can change the situation. You have somebody giving you a hard time, or you can even in the middle of an argument, you have the ability. Some people call it free will. You can stop an argument People say, oh, we were arguing, I couldn't stop. Yes, you could. Yes, you could. You always have the opportunity to say what you're going to say. So that when you're in the heat of the moment, you can either go on and say, yeah, you blah, blah, blah. Or you can say, you know what, I really love you and I don't want to argue anymore. And you stop the argument right then and there.
Mm.
Now, the other person might say, no, you got to listen to what and you can say again, go ahead. I love you so much. Please say what you have to say. If it's going to allow us to move forward, I have to hear it. And then hear it.
Well, wait, let me say this. SW writes in the chat room, silence is golden. She said a person can't argue with themselves. Hey, me seeing a Jamaica in my days. Person did an argument and them up on the street, cuss one another for a while. And the other person gone to them yard, you know. And would you believe that a person out on the street that cuss for all 10, 15 minutes? A cuss, make nice, I go on some way.
But they're arguing with themselves. They're not arguing. They're not arguing no longer with someone else. And what they need to understand is that's the energy that they're just putting it out. So it doesn't even matter who's in the way. The best thing that person did was run in their yard because that's like a grenade. That's just somebody that just spews negativity. They don't understand the power of their words and what they're doing.
But let me ask
destructive.
you. Suppose that person that's out there still arguing after that person, still shouting and making noise and creating statements. Don't you think they're venting at some point is okay for them?
It is, and it isn't. I'm not saying that you can't vent, but mind how you vent. If you say, like when I have a particularly challenging day. Now, did you see how I said it? Yeah. I said I had a particularly challenging day. I didn't say, oh, my God, I had the worst day of my life. It all depends on how you vent, which words you're choosing to vent, because that's still going to come back. So I have to be mindful of us. Oh, my God, I had the worst day. It's always terrible. It's always, not to always in there. So now I always got to come back. It got to always be terrible. Mm-hmm. It got to always be worse. It got to always be in the day. So now I put all that out. It's out there. The only way that I can change it, what I said out, is to stop saying it. I can acknowledge that the day was challenging because that's all that it was. It wasn't the worst day. I'm sure that if I use the law of, if I use the law of polarity, which lets me know to look and see how is it really the worst day, to compare it. The law of relativity, to compare it to other days that I've had, or even a day that maybe my son might come and say, oh, my God, Ma, you'll never guess, my tire flew off my car. Now, to me, I'm saying I had the worst day because I went to the supermarket and they didn't have the bread I wanted. Mm. And there's some people that blow things out of proportion like that. And with it, they damn themselves. Because now they're throwing, oh, it's the worst day of my life. I didn't have to put it, and it wasn't even that big of a deal.
Yeah. Let me just add something
here.
Yeah,
like she said, the broke thing, that's a for real thing right there. So many people walk around saying, Lord, I am broke. Oh, God, I don't have it. Ooh, I'm poor, we poor. Yep, every time you say it, you add into your poor bank.
Yeah, adding to
and here's the thing about the laws of the universe. We don't know the gestation period. We don't know how much we have to fortify it. But just the same way that you fortify those broke thoughts, by keep saying them and keep amplifying them, you need to fortify and nourish your positive thoughts.
All right, all right, just hold it there. Let me you refer back to broke. SW wrote in the chat room, and I'm going to mention something that Liebach said and ask you how should he say it. SW says, true, like instead of saying I am broke, say I am temporarily out of cash. And she said she heard that on Oprah, and she says she struggles with that. Liebach says he let things pile on and need to let it go. And by the end of the day, I'm in a foul mood because of all the BS piling on me. Now, what should Liebach say in that particular case?
Well, there's a couple of things he should say and should do. The first thing is that there's no BS piling on all day. At the end of the day, you should be happy. Here's what I say every time. I am excited, happy, and grateful. At the end of the day, you should be so happy that it's, number one, the end of the day. You happy you going home. You happy your family's going to be there. You excited to see them, and you grateful to see them. So that no matter what happened at your job, that was at your job. That thing can't even hurt you no more once you leave there. Those struggles and problems and issues at the job, guess what? They at the job. They don't affect you really unless you carry it home with you. So when you take your shoes off at the door, you take off all the stress from the work at the door too. Remember I told people about that? Leave that stuff outside. Some people have to do it symbolically. Take your work shoes off at the door and say, that's it. We don't talk about work in here. This is home. I'm happy, excited, and grateful to be here. And keep it that way. And it is a struggle. And let me tell you, I struggle too. I don't want you to sit here and think that, I don't struggle. I struggle, but do I struggle as much? No, my struggles are a little different. So there's what I say about the pendulum. So for me, the things that y'all are struggling with, I've mastered, so to speak, so that I'm struggling with other issues. You understand? But each time you get over it, it becomes easier. And you have to, catch yourself. Now that, like I said, now that these little seeds, these thought seeds that I put in your mind have been planted, you have no choice but to catch yourself. And it's going to get easier. It gets easier and easier every time you do it. And it gets more fun. You start to feel better. Because I feel good at the end of the day when I can say to my kids, oh, my God, I got to tell you this funny thing. Because I would rather share with them a funny, happy story than a terrible story. So that no matter what happens to me, I try to see the humor or the good in it, because that's what I want to take on. That's what I want to permeate. I don't want to keep it going. I don't want to perpetuate the negativity of it, and I can. And the thing about these laws is that you can change your life that simply once you really understand it, because the higher nature thoughts always take precedence over the lower nature ones. So anything negative that you could feel or think is just that. It's negative. It's lower.
All right. Let me ask you this. The current world population stands at somewhere in the neighborhood of 7.5 billion people. Right? Now, my question to you is, what if 90%, 9763, say about 6.5 billion people were to understand these 7 laws of the universe and practice them and do them day in and day out? What do you think the world would be like today?
It would be the way it's supposed to be.
No, that don't answer.
It would be, and the way that it's supposed to be, and that's not to say that we don't go through struggles or hardships, but that we keep them in perspective, that we overcome them, that we understand that it's part of life. It's just like I had once posted I reposted on my Facebook. There's a picture of Morticia, and it says, to the spider, to the fly, the spiders wait, I got it backwards. I'm sorry.
All right, folks. While she's trying to
get that. I'm struggling.
Yeah.
What she put? Yeah, it has to do with how the relativity of it, how you perceive it. And so that to one person it might seem chaotic, but to you it's not that bad. So like if you look at life from a spider's point of view, when he traps those flies in his net and his web, to the fly it's chaos, and they're like, oh my God, I'm about to die and it's terrible. But to the spider it's life. They have to eat. You understand what I'm saying? So it all depends on where you're looking at it from, what point of view, what perspective, like with the people at the graduation. If you were the next person to be named after this woman was woo-hoo-hoo and did all of that stuff, she overshadowed you. So to you, it wasn't a great thing because you're like, wow, my name got drowned out. So
Well,
it all depends, you know?
yeah, I still I'm still struggling with that one. But yeah,
What
but
is
go
it
on.
that you're struggling with?
No, the
Like,
fact.
give me an
No, no,
example.
no, no, no. I'm struggling with the fact that they actually locking up these people. They're gonna have to pay a lot of money to get lawyers to go into court. They could simply say, look, we have this standing rule. If you violate it, we ask you to leave and go outside. But why even lock up the people? I have a
Well,
problem with
here's
that.
the thing about that, ruler. You know that sometimes things stop midstream. And like I said, the people can do one or two things. They can continue to fight it because we don't know who they are in the universe. They might be habitual, destructive people. They might need this lesson. We don't know.
No, 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 no. But the thing is, look, it's a disorderly conduct. You ask a person to leave, anybody else there that would behave the same way. You say, hey, you have to leave. I
Yeah,
think I think
and
to take it
so
to the extreme of that, that's a
I
problem I
get
have.
that. And what I'm trying to say to you is that for these individuals, so that even though it's a law, it's not, they didn't do it to everyone and they're not going to do it to everyone. What I'm trying to get you to understand is that this might be something personal for those people. So that you don't see it as, oh, yes, they're going to start locking up everyone. I don't even see it as getting that big because I understand the universal laws the way that I do. I see it as this has to do with those people personally, and for whatever reason, they need to be publicly called out so that they understand whatever it is that they have to gain from this experience. I don't see it going any further than this. I really don't feel like they're going to start locking everybody up. I just feel like for whatever reason, these particular people might need to have this experience. And they might not even go through the whole thing because things can change. If they just change any idea or any thought in their mind, because like I said, we don't know them, they could change the momentum of what's going on. And there's plenty of times you see so-and-so is supposed to go to court and be damned, and they don't even make it because something happened just in the nick of time, right? So we don't know what their karma situation is. We don't really know. So, you know, when we judge people and situations, we have to take that into account. That we don't really know them. We don't know what type of people they are. We don't know what type of seeds they've sown into the universe. And the best thing that we could do is look and say, and make sure that our steps, our thoughts, and our actions are with great positive intent.
We could argue that one forever because I can bring all kind of examples. I can bring all kind of examples of people up in the upper class that has money, white collar crimes, all kind of crazy stuff, and they get away with stuff. But
sure, I can tell you
I don't
examples here. I've had a client. I shouldn't say it like that, but I know people, former people that lived here that had unjustly been put in jail for minor traffic infractions, and other clients who have done, like really great things and got away with it. Why? I can give you a million physical above the ground reasons why. But then again, like I said, I don't know what they did spiritually to bring them to where they are too. So, that takes into account. And when you look at it like that, then you can go through life and everything is not so hectic and frantic and, it's earth shattering and oh my God, it's so terrible, because they might be do that. And I'm not saying every white person that gets away with something is do that good thing, but we don't know what they're going to get behind it.
All right, I tell you what, geez, I can't believe 1 hour is run off already. It's 29. It's 29 minutes after the hour. Are there any other points in the graphs that you didn't get a chance to present? See if you can take a couple more minutes to just wind it up, because we're running out of time. Wow, amazing.
25th century, I always see the glass half full. It's never half empty. I don't know. I always try to see the good in the situation because it feels better to. It gives you more strength to it. Your body responds better to it. I mean, sure, you can respond and accept things and react to things negatively, but we already been through what it does to you physically. So that, you know, like I said, here in our little circle, we all know enough now to know that most of the things, if we're not happy about them in our lives, we have the power to change them. And sometimes it just comes with just a thought. Just a thought.
I agree. Just the thought of you leaving in a couple of minutes. I'm not even gonna think. Not even gonna think that way.
You're so silly. Now, Zyberg, he was saying what about the drugs. Mm-hmm.
Just read out anything there. Okay,
remember, he's saying that it's hard for people like him, that he's been treated for depression. The worst thing about taking these medications is that he will never, and the worst thing was taking those medications, and he will never touch them again.
Right.
They mess with you on a neurological level, and then it takes so long to feel right again. So I look for other ways to help me, like taking EmpressTee's advice. Oh, thank you. But it's true. You know, that's what it's all about, Lyra. For whatever reason, you were brought to this frequency so that you can see and learn that, you know, that most of the things that you do struggle with, you have within you the power to change them and overcome those struggles. Now, that's not to say that you won't have another struggle right behind it, but you'll be more empowered to meet it on. See it like an obstacle course, if you will. You know, the purpose of an obstacle course is to navigate and get through and get to the end. It's not all the little hiccups in there. It's the end. And people get so caught up with the middle that they don't make it to the end.
Let me also add that this is about your 26 deposit of these shows. So if you divide 26 by 4, that's about 6 months, a little over 6 months, right? And I don't know if you remember when Lieberg, the first show you did, and Lieberg came to the first show, his outlook, his feeling was just so out there to the left, negative, you know. And this brother has just, I think he's picked up so much in terms of being in this group on these shows. Do you remember that? You remember like the next week?
Yes, I do. And not just Lieberg. You know, there's a lot of other people. And like I said, that's because we're on the upswing. And it feels good to feel good. You know what I'm saying? And if nothing else, I want him to master the concept that he can change his life when he's ready.
Indeed. And that
when he's really ready. And because, you know, he's probably one of those that says, you know, I don't know, I tried it, it didn't work. Now, the key to that is like with anything that you plant. Most times people plant something and they might water it the first 2 days, right? Mm-hmm. Then they forget, right? Mm-hmm. Then they'll come back and they see a little something and they say, oh, and they water it a little more. Then they forget. Then the thing dies. They're like, oh, my God, I don't know why it died. You didn't nurture it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You didn't follow it up. It's the same with a thought or an idea. If you say, oh, I had this dream and it just didn't come through, well, did you forget it? Or did you nurture it? Did you every day give thanks for that dream in advance as though it happened? Did you say yes and nurture it with that type of fuel to keep it going? Because every time you give thanks for your dreams or thanks for your goals or thanks for anything, you fuel it and give it more life, more energy. So that if you say, oh, I'm going to start this business next week, and you say, man, I'm so thankful I had that idea. Now you fuel that idea with gratitude. And then you go and tell someone else about the idea. Now you're fueling it with words. And then you go and make an application for that business. Now you fueled it with action. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that it has to live. And there's where we're saying the law of action. They say faith without works is dead. That's in the Bible. They came, you know, thousands of years after these universal laws. But that just means that it starts with a thought. Then it has to go from the mental to the physical, so that by the time it gets to the physical, it should be manifesting. But how long it takes, no one knows. So that's why you have to keep nurturing it until it gets there. You can't give up. You can't doubt. You can't change your mind. You have to stay the course. You have to stay the course. And that's the hardest part.
And let me also remind the folks that Brian Tracy once said, "You're a living magnet.
Yes.
What you attract in your life is in harmony with your dominant thoughts," and that is so true. Exactly. Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Powerful stuff. And I want to thank SAA. She says, "Thank you, Ruler, for this forum. You all have helped me in ways you don't even know." And and I've told you this many times after your show. Sometimes you and I talk, and I speak to many of the listeners after the show, and they call me, and they just really and truly appreciate the dialogue, the words, the positivity, the.
And I got to tell you, Rula, what I appreciate too, because I really believe in these universal laws, is that this for me now has become a swing back spot, so that no matter what I do in the world, how I cycle it, every 7 days, I know I'm going to be back here with the RBN family. You understand what I'm saying? That's my frequency cycle with you guys. I know that no matter what transpires in the 6 days in between, I'm always going to be back here.
Yeah, gratitude changes everything. And like I said, boy, I certainly learn, and I've changed some of my, even, with you and Mr. Anthony on, eating habits, thinking about if I'm going to eat something, because you guys come in and you drum it every day, and it's real. And I feel difference. I feel differences. So we're hoping that some of the folks that actually tuning every Tuesdays to listen to Sir Keith and you on a Friday, really after the show can reflect and say, something, I need to start to put some of what these guys are saying into practice. Indeed.
Yeah, and that's when you know that you're making an ascent. And like I said, that's what it's all about. We're here to become our best selves. That's what we're here on this earth for. And once you start worrying about what you're eating, then that lets me know that you are elevating your mind, your third eye is opening. That's how I know that you are making that spiritual ascent, because you realize that what you eat has a big effect on how you feel, which has a big effect on how you think and how you operate. You're understanding the connectivity, and that's all it's all about. That's what it's all about. I love it.
Thank you. Gratitude changes everything. Thank you so much, EmpressTee. And I know if it's a Friday, it has to be a sense of purpose, higher frequency. Blessed, lovely lady. All right, take care of yourself.
Yes, thank you too. Bye, everybody.
Have a great weekend.